Okay, we're in our third week of Advent, talking today about power and strength. And I have explained to you that the way I'm approaching this is unique to me. It is not our traditional Advent series, but it's a thing that means something to me, and it's hopefully it means something to you too. But I'm focusing on what we acknowledge as the four aspects of God: life, love, power, and intelligence. That these are what I like to think of as fundamental elements of God. And so what we are doing here is we're setting up, and I'll just explain this again. I know several of you have seen this, but to give the symbolism, because what this really is, it's sort of like a mathematical equation depicting the individual and our relationship to God. And that sounds kind of crazy, but everything is a symbol. And the wreath is a symbol of the evergreen wreath. So for some reason I just blanked out. I guess maybe that was me. Evergreen represents the eternal. And the fact that the wreath is round, no beginning, no end, it is symbolic of the presence of God. There's no beginning, no end to it. And it's eternal. And so we are in that presence all the time. That wreath surrounds the whole thing. That's the symbolism of it, is one presence, one power. We say it every week. The center candle is the soul, the Christ, our center of power. You can call this whatever you want. The Christ is the biblical name for it. Soul is also kind of a religious biblical name. A lot of modern day people just prefer to call it consciousness. It's that part of us that is us. It's the I that I am. And it's that part that's never changed. I bet today when you look in the mirror, you see a different person than you did 20 years ago. Right? Or is that just me? But what about the one doing the looking? What about the one doing the seeing? What about the one saying, I? Where did I go? Who is that guy? Who is that gal? The other side. But it's that spiritual dimension in us. It's that ageless Christ self. And near-death research says that part never changes. Even when you step out of your body, the I is still there. The I that you feel you are, your personal identity, is still there. But what we drop is all of the stuff we pick up around the body. You think about the time and energy and effort that you spend thinking about the body. There's a lot of our consciousness that is a lot of our identity that's grounded in the body. If I say I'm 66 years old, is that really true? Is the I that I am 66 years old? It's probably more like 66,000 years old or a million years old. Who knows how old I am? So when I refer to the I, I'm usually grounded, my conversation is grounded in the body. So we're looking to something larger than that, this Christ self, the spiritual identity, the soul, that which we hold outlasts the body and actually animates the body, but is not the body. But that's a hard one to sort out. And really all of our spiritual studies are trying to figure out how to solve bodily problems. When you think about every problem you have, it's grounded in the body. Whether it's a financial problem, souls don't need money. Whether it's a healing problem, that's a body-related thing. A relationship problem, that's a body thing. It's not just a physical thing, of course. But we relate to other people based in a great degree on the nature of our body. You have the body of a female or the body of a male, certain age, all the things that we think about as ourselves, we relate to people from that level. Almost every prayer that you can imagine that you've ever had has been geared around solving a body problem. And I hadn't really thought about that through most of my life until recently, the last several years, I should say. That our spiritual path, a great deal of it is, how do I live on this planet as a soul that has a body? How do I solve the problems that generates? So think about that. It's a pretty interesting thing to think about. So we're taking each week and we are examining one of these different candles. The first one represents life and enthusiasm. That's one of the fundamentals of God. God is life. God is love. And that love expresses as understanding. And I talked about that last week, that love is that power that draws to us that which is for our highest good and dissolves that which is not. That's the activity of love, and that requires understanding. Because sometimes we don't want to let go of things that aren't always for our highest good, and love is saying, it's time. Time to move on. You're climbing the ladder, you've got to leave the step you're on. Time to let go. Time to move on. Today we're looking at power, which expresses through us as strength, and that could be strength of character, strength of faith, physical strength if we need that, just the endurance that sometimes we're called upon to exercise. Manifests in many ways, and we'll focus on that today. And the last one is intelligence, which manifests through us as order. When we see order, we know that intelligence is present, and there's no place we don't see order in this universe. You know, you look at the galaxies and all of the arrangement of things and how it all works so beautifully together. There's a beautiful order there, and we have to conclude that there's an intelligence. And by saying that, we're not saying that there's an old man up there pulling all the strings. The intelligence is woven into every expression. All of these qualities are, and that's what this illustration is, this graphic. God is life, love, power, and intelligence, universal. And by that is like, think of your mind as, you don't have a particular idea in your mind, but the moment you come up with an idea, say you're thinking about what to have for supper, you have infinite possibilities, and you come to focus those on a particular idea. And then you express that idea through action. And that's what Charles Fillmore talked about. The Holy Trinity is mind, idea, and expression. It is, mind is that universal, unexpressed potential that is available to all of us. But we express that uniquely in our lives. For everyone in here, we all are expressing our lives in different ways, in unique ways. Which one's right? You know, the universe doesn't say, you've got to do it this way. It says, you can draw from the infinite pool, and you can express in any way you want, any way that works for you. And there's ways that don't work, of course. And that's up to us to find out what those are. But it's like the white light of God. It's like the sunlight. You know, it's pure white light. You see it coming through the window. It's pure white. But you hold a prism up to it, and it breaks down the colors. We see about 7 of them. There's more on different wavelengths and so forth that we don't see. But if you think of those different colors as the life, love, power, and intelligence of God, expressing through this prism of the soul, and we express those elements in a variety of ways. I express love, one way I express it is through writing. I express it through my relationship with my cat. I express it through my relationship, of course, with my wife. Better get that in there. Should have got that before the cat, I guess, but you get it. Hey, now. But you see, that's universal. You don't have to express love in the same way I do. You express it in your own life in the way that you see fit. So love itself is universal, but we all express it in different ways. So that goes to intelligence. I also like to express intelligence through writing. And sometimes I express intelligence in our marriage. You guys are, I must have turned something off in your brains. We'll just skip right over that one. But you understand what I'm saying. I mean, an artist, for example, who is a painter would express intelligence through a painting. There's no set way that we are called upon to express intelligence. It's there to draw upon for any of it, whatever we're doing. And it's the same with power and love and, all four of these different qualities. So it's just a graphic way of saying that we are immersed in the infinite. God is the one presence, one power, but expressing uniquely through us. And the way it shines through us has a lot to do with the choices we make, has everything to do with the choices we make. And so if you say, is it God's will for me to do this or that? God kind of sits back and says, well, are you willing to do this or that? It's not so much a matter of, is there energy? Is there enough energy to go around for you to do this or that? Because you look out at nature, it's very prolific in the way it expresses, and expresses in all different kinds of ways. They say the chimpanzee is the most intelligent of all creatures, but there's several that are up there, the dolphin and whales, and the pig actually is quite intelligent. And they rate the pig higher than the dog, which is hard to believe. I would rather have a dog than a pig, frankly, but and the cat, I didn't see a rating on them, but I know they're up there someplace. They're higher than the human being, I believe. But anyway, let's get on to something else here. Power manifests in a wide range of ways. We think of the sun, for example, very powerful light source, heat source, energy source. We couldn't live without it. But it also expresses in very simple ways, the power of the simple plant, the leaf unfolding. We see it expressed in all kinds of ways. So it's not a matter of, is there enough, or is it the will of God to express in a certain way? There's no limit to how it can express. So the point of this is to say, in your own life, if you are feeling that your strength is waning, that there's something that is being required of you that you don't feel that you have the power, the strength to follow through on. It's never a question of, is there enough? It's always a matter of beginning to affirm that God is the source of my power. Therefore, God is the source of my strength. I have all the strength to do what I need to do. And it is a matter of affirming. It's a matter of opening ourselves to that, of harmonizing ourselves with that. Because if you say to yourself that I'm feeling weak, or you have statements around that idea, that helps to close that gate down somewhat. It's a little bit like putting yourself outside of the influence of the sun. The sun continues to shine, but you can put yourself out of the sunlight. So that's a choice. And it's just important for us to keep that in mind. The power arises in our being as physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual strength. We call on strength to hold a steady course, to take one more step when our world seems to crumble around us. And that's, we all have that happen. And again, that's one of the things that it's not easy to learn, and we often need to be reminded of it. I've said that I have spent, many hours in counseling with individuals that have reached what they felt like was the end of their rope. I've been at the end of my rope. We all know what that's like, to be at the end of our rope. But what's amazing is that you can have a conversation with somebody who's in that state, who's feeling powerless to go forward. And you can talk for a while, just words of encouragement, words that are optimistic. And in just a very short period of time, that person can change, or we can change, where we felt we had no power before, we suddenly feel like we are empowered. And what changes is our attitude, and that's the switch. That's the lever. The universal is always present. God is always present. But are we turning that on, or are we turning it off? And it's when you're feeling discouraged, for example. Who hasn't felt discouraged? It's just part of the human experience. Things aren't working out like you hoped they would, and so you feel dejected, or you feel at a loss. You don't feel like you have the strength, or the thing that you thought was giving you your strength is no longer there. That's one of the things that we do talk about in relationships, that we draw our strength from other people, and marriage is, marrying your better half and all that kind of thing. It's like we as individuals are incomplete, but we need other people to be complete. And it's kind of a cultural thing. But the spiritual path, the mystical path, is all about finding strength within the individual. It's not about people coming together out of weakness. It's about people coming together out of strength. That's a much better place to be. Sometimes it's okay to come together out of weakness, because if I have to, if you're the thing, if you're the source of strength that moment that I have to draw upon, if it makes me feel better, then I'll do it. But that's just a temporary measure, because you're not always going to be around. And I want to be able to draw from myself. I want to be able to draw from my own pool of strength. And I've asked the question before, what would you rather be in a relationship with, someone who needs you or someone who wants you? Someone who needs you is coming from a place of powerlessness. Someone who wants you is coming from a place of strength. They don't need you, but they want you to be in their life. They want you to be part of their experience. And those are the healthiest kinds of relationships that we can have. We steady our faith in the well-being of a loved one. Strength may manifest as the courage to make an apology, or it may express as a power to say no to behavior we know is destructive. So strength can manifest in many ways. If we have a loved one that's going through a difficult time, we may have to call upon our strength to know the greater good is unfolding through them. That's sometimes hard to find strength to do that. But we give people our strength in our thought, just our thought. When you're thinking about somebody that's going through a challenge, how do you see them? How do you think of them? One of the exercises I have brought up is as you think about someone that you're praying for, first of all, ask for their forgiveness. Forgive me for seeing you as something less than this problem. It's a change in our own perception. Like, am I praying for a person who is weak in need of help, or am I focused on their wholeness, focused on their strength? So the idea of forgiveness is just set aside that image. Set aside that image. Forgive yourself for holding that. Let it go. And you begin to affirm that you are an expression of God. You are now expressing all the strength you need in this moment to take that next step, to do whatever it is you need to do. You have the strength to keep going. And I'll help you along all I can. But I will help you most of all to find your strength, to find that place in yourself where you know it's all working out. So maybe you've offended somebody, and in order to go forward in that relationship, you need to apologize. You need to somehow break up that moment where things went south. You can't always do this. You can't always put yourself back in a relationship. It's called seeking amends, I guess, in some circles, and that's a good thing. But why do we do that? We are acknowledging the strength in somebody else and the strength in ourselves, finding the strength in ourselves to say, I can say I'm sorry if I need to. If that's where the chain is, if that's where the lock is and I have the key, it's forgiveness, is letting go, saying I'm sorry if we need to. What that does, it's not a diminishing thing, it's an empowering thing. It's saying I'm larger than this perception I hold of this particular situation, this moment. And I have the strength to do that if I need to. And then there are those that would manipulate you into doing and being the person they want you to do and be. And sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes it requires strength to draw a line and say, I'm going as far as I'm going to go in this. It doesn't have to be a negative thing, but sometimes it is. I've ended relationships that I've had for almost all my life. And I don't know that I would say I've ended them, but I have set them in a place where I'm okay with not having to make any kind of decision with them. And maybe someday, as Emerson talked about, maybe we'll come back together at some point. And if we do, we'll be in a better place. But sometimes we have to say no to people, and that's not always easy, to say no to people. If you know you need to say no and you don't say no, you'll be forced to say no. The thing will burn up anyway. You won't be able to keep it together. If you know what you need to do is say no, but you don't know how to say no, you're going to say no sometime anyway, or they're going to say no to you or something. You can always tell. I think it's a Buddhist saying. I saw it on Facebook or someplace. I can't remember what it was now. It's like if you have to, if you find somebody's avoiding you, don't keep looking them up. There's a reason for that. And I think that's pretty good advice, but what we do is, well, I've got to be the good guy, I've got to be the good person, I'm going to keep it going. I'm not listening. So I thought a lot of wisdom in that. That's not exactly right, but it's sort of, probably everybody on Facebook saw it. I never can find anything original from Facebook. Okay, so our affirmations for power and strength. I am an expression of pure power. This would be particularly important if you are just feeling like your life it's just hard, it's a burden to pick it up every day and take whatever steps you need to do. Is to lay down whatever you're feeling and just make statements like this, because this is the way to open the door. I am an expression of pure power. Let's say that together. I am an expression of pure power. And as I have said, when you say these things, take time to just feel what that might mean. If I've been saying I'm powerless or this situation looks bigger than me, there's a power at work in me that's larger than me. It's more than I am, and that's absolutely true. And just think of the prism and all that. Pure light of God shining through you. The full radiance of my soul empowers me to steadfastness in all that I am and all that I do. Together. The full radiance of my soul empowers me to steadfastness in all that I am and all that I do. That's actually a pretty good one to memorize because it applies to the kinds of things we're doing. I had to do this yesterday. I got a new cell phone, which is something I totally dread. After they get up and running, I feel empowered. But while I'm trying to get up and running, you know how you're reading along the directions and it tells you something to do and everything's working up to that moment and there's nothing there that looks anything like that direction. The thing, just go to this and push, it's not there. So you have to call upon a power greater than yourself, which is, I was trying to get all my past information loaded on my phone and I was just not ready quite to pull my hair out, but I couldn't get it to work. And so I opened it up and it was all there. I didn't do anything. I don't know how it happened. It was a miracle, just some miracle happened. But it's things like that, they drive you into a lower level of existence until it works. And it's all a surface thing. I'm not saying that it's anything permanent, thank God. But that's where we are most of the time. We're dealing with these things that rub us the wrong way or make us feel powerless. But the full radiance of my soul empowers me to steadfastness in all that I am and all that I do. Let's say that again. The full radiance of my soul empowers me to steadfastness in all that I am and all that I do. My strength is boundless. My power has no limits. And that's throwing the door wide open. My strength is boundless. My power has no limits. Let's say that together. My strength is boundless. My power has no limits. All right. So this is to me, this whole Advent thing is a meditative process more than anything. And I actually am taking these things and I'm using them in my morning meditation, my morning time of quiet. I got up at 4 o'clock this morning and opened up the page on this and went through them and just recentered myself and prepared for this moment here today. But it's a pretty empowering program, I think. Very practical one. All right. Thank you for coming out and be safe, stay warm. Have a great week.
Look up, the star shines so brightly over the place where he lay. The world at peace spins so gently, gracefully whirling in space. We traveled all day across the desert, over the mountains of sand. Now we rest in this lovely oasis. Our journey has come to its end. We heard the tale, how he's come to reveal compassion, forgiveness, and love. We're bringing gifts to lay at his feet and shines so brightly over the place where he lay. The world at peace spins so gently, gracefully whirling in space. Tale how he's come to reveal compassion, forgiveness, and love. We're bringing gifts to lay at his feet and watch while the star shines above. Look up, the star shines so brightly over the place where he lay. The world at peace spins so gently, gracefully whirling in space. So gracefully whirling in space. So graceful, we're whirling in space.
You've been watching a talk given by Reverend Doug Bottorff here at Independent Unity in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us spread our message. If you would like to support us, you can do so by clicking the button in the right-hand corner of the video screen. We greatly appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching.